All right, hi there, folks. Welcome back. In this video, we're going to talk through another common thing that I've heard a lot when I ask people how they're doing, what they're going through during this period of time. And one of the things I hear a lot of times is, I just don't know if it's ever going to go back to normal. I don't know when this is going to end, and when do we get to go back to the way things were. And so it really, behind that question or that statement, is going to be having hope in the future. And so there's a loss of hope. You can kind of tell that people, as they're thinking, hey, is this going to be a week long, month long? Is it going to be a quarter, a year? There's a lot of differing thoughts and opinions out there. But they all have to do with, like, hey, what can we put our hope in right now? If I know the length of time that we have to deal with here, I might be able to survive a little bit better and to deal with this a little bit better if I kind of know, hey, this is how long I have to make it for. I want to dig a little bit deeper. I'm not going to get into, like, what the time frames are. That's not the point of these videos. I want to dig into some of the underlying thought patterns behind that and talk about the idea of hope and normal. And so to do this, I want to go back and just kind of frame this a little bit different and make a comparison example of how I've understood this. If you've been watching these videos, in the very beginning, what I mentioned, the reason why I want to try and take a look at how we process our anxieties as it relates to loss is because I've gone through loss as well. And one of the ways that I've experienced loss that's distinct from others, let me give an example to kind of make the comparison. 3 years ago, we lost one of our children. And when you lose a loved one to death, there's a finality to it. And so part of the grieving process and the loss process is thinking, okay, I really wish I had my son back. I really wish I had that time back. I really wish I had these things. And so normal was the time before all that stuff happened. And the reality is, after death, is that there is no returning back to that. There's no situation in my mind where I'm thinking, like, realistically, I can get back to that. And so the hope isn't any longer in getting back to quote unquote normal. The hope is, can I figure out how to have a new normal? Can I figure out how to survive and make and things be okay again? That's the real question when it comes to that kind of finality of loss. I've compared this to the experience with a lot of other parents who are suffering loss of their children who haven't lost their kids yet. I know a few people who are kind of on the edge all the time of, my child is suffering through cancer. They're going through a situation where it's a matter of time before I lose them. And they're going through a different situation altogether because they're suffering through a loss that is happening and still could happen, but also might not happen as well. And so there's a sense of hope of, okay, maybe things can change, right? And so there's a subtle nuance and a subtle difference in that I want to be able to articulate here. So as it relates to how a lot of us are going through the experience of loss and the experience of the anxiety that comes with that loss in our present situation, I don't know if I can hope in things getting back to the way that they were, or if it's just that we're going to have to deal with a different normal altogether. Do I just simply have to kind of grieve what was and say, okay, that's gone. Like, whatever that normal was, that we have to deal with a situation where we're constantly have to worrying about these kinds of things. Is that the real state of this affairs right now? And so when we start talking through how to anchor and how to be able to build that immunity with this type of loss, when you're trying to think through how to have good hope and how to really anchor yourself into what normal is, a little bit of this is having to figure out, how do we sit in between that kind of that drift in between. Like, there are things that could happen, but I don't know. And so that's a very difficult place to be. I oftentimes tell people that, like, for parents who have to suffer through the unknown of, I don't know if my kid's going to survive or not, that's almost a different kind of loss than the one that I've experienced, because, like, for me at least, it was like, hey, it's final. I know what I'm dealing with. For those that are kind of in the in-between, it's a much more aggravating anxiety, very tense position to be, because you don't know what to expect. And that's the situation I think a lot of us are in right now when it comes to, I don't know what is now and what's going to happen in the future. So let's just simply call that as a hard thing. Okay, that's the experience that a lot of you guys are going through. If that particularly hits a resonating point within you, then that's what you're going through right now. That makes sense. I think the way to build immunity and to build a sense of strength around that is to be able to start getting comfortable with the unknown and to say, okay, I don't know what normal is. And I don't know if I'll ever be okay with whatever normal version there is going down the line. But I believe I can work through, and I had the fortitude, the strength to be able to figure out how to be okay. I told myself that a lot of times in the first few months and weeks after loss, was that I don't know how I'm going to be okay with suffering the loss of my child. I don't have any idea what that looks like. I don't know how that's going to happen, but I do have to believe, and I do have to put faith in the fact that I will figure it out, that things will be okay. I don't have any clue. I don't know what that looks like, but I do believe that it will be okay. And that's how for myself, I work through the anchoring process each and every day. When I felt like, I don't know, I felt despair, like I don't know if I can survive, but I have to go back and think, okay, I do believe that even though this is an unbearable and very difficult time, that I will be okay, that I can't put hope in the fact that I don't know what normal will be, but I know that I can get to normal with time and a lot of commitment, a lot of work, and a lot of persistence. So that's what I want to be able to kind of give to you right now as an anchoring point, to remind yourself when you're feeling that uncertainty, that you don't necessarily need to know what normal is going to look like and to have all the answers to your questions in that regard. But you can put a little bit more strength behind the fact that whatever that normal looks like, you will be able to be okay, and you'll be able to get to that point, and you'll be able to do that with other people. And on that note, again, remember, reach out to other people, reach out to us at Watershed Initiative, to connect and to talk that through. Because if you're going to do that in isolation, it makes it much harder. It makes it hard because you're in your head and you're not sure, you have a lot of doubt. But when you connect with other people and you talk it through, you begin to realize, hey, you're not alone, and that we can make it through together. And so that's what I'll leave you with. Definitely reach out to us if we can be of additional support. Thanks for watching.